Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Combat Craig, and today we're going to talk about VSOs, Veteran Service Officers, that help with VA claims. I'm going to read some concerns and thoughts from somebody that posted a comment, and if this fits your situation, then it works. I'll tell you up front, I haven't had any luck with VSOs. I didn't know what I was doing for the first 27 years of the VA claims process, what VSOs were supposed to do, what they could even do. So hopefully this will help somebody out there in the future. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. All right, let's hop into it. Just got my results, and everything the VSO claimed got denied. It's almost if he wanted to sabotage my claim. So this particular sentence is not 100% because of your VSO. You hired your VSO and you gave him power of attorney, so he's your partner in this thing. So yes, should he have done a better job? Did he sell you on the concept that he knows what's going on and things will sail through? I don't know what that conversation was like. But the VSO is somebody that will do things for you. A lot of things they cannot do. They're not doctors and they're not lawyers, and there's a lot of them that suck. Those are the ones that I encountered, and this is over like 25 years. This is over a long span. So this group of VSOs in the 90s sucked. These ones in the 2008 timeframe also sucked. And then again, I took another shot in 2015 and they suck. So that's my personal experience. So this is your partner. I don't think this guy is clever enough to sabotage your claim. I just think he was overworked, didn't care, didn't understand what you were doing. But this is a 50-50 thing. You made the decision to hire a VSO who's basically a secretary that can click some buttons and look up a few things for you. But when it comes down to actually winning your claim, the medical evidence, you need to have actual medical evidence to fight medical evidence. You need a doctor for that. It's actually ridiculous how the VSO managed to screw me over. Now, this one is a little different. And again, I understand this feeling because I've had it multiple times. The VSO may or may not have screwed you over. You hired him, so you screwed yourself over. But it's the CNP examiner and the VA rater that screwed you over. They're the ones that denied you. So it's important to understand who the players you're going to be encountering in the VA claims process are, so you can get a feel or some kind of expectation of what you're going up against. For sure, if you file your claim yourself, you're going up against the CNP examiner about 99% of the time, and 100% of the time you're going up against a VA rater. If you add a VSO into this mix, he could be working against you. You're not going to know this until you're denied, basically. They're not going to tell you, oh, I'm great, and they just tell you there's no guarantees. Because there's not. So, keep that in mind. I had evidence from multiple doctors, and this VSO actually made it worse for me. So I'm not sure how he would make your evidence worse, but let's talk about it. You filed a claim. Let's say it's a direct service connection claim. You need a current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus. Nexus is the link to your active duty service. In a direct service connection claim, whenever you file the claim after you got off of active duty to now, you need a nexus. A doctor needs to describe that. So if you had that and it's a direct service connection claim and you've been out for 30 years, you got denied because you didn't file a claim 30 years ago. That's the way the VA looks at it. If you don't seek treatment, the VA thinks you're just better. That's the way this system works. If you don't file a claim for 20 years, then you didn't have a problem for 20 years. So they're not going to service connect it in almost all cases. Secondary VA claims, are a good way to go when you're in this situation. Presumptive claims, that's a different type of claim that you could file. The Pact Act came out and all that kind of stuff. I'm seeing a lot of people that file Pact Act presumptive claims, allergic rhinitis, chronic sinusitis, and they're getting 0% ratings, and they're wondering, why did I get a 0% rating? You don't meet the rating criteria for a higher rating. When you're filing your claim, you don't want to just dump it all into a VSO. Go in and do the work. What is the rating criteria for the disability I'm trying to file a claim for? And then here's my rating. Is this claim that I'm about to file, what are the chances this is going up? If that answer is not very high, I wouldn't even bother with that claim. There's a lot of claims that just don't pay very well. It's fine if you want to file them, but just know it's not going to pay you more or increase your rating. Again, there's lots of other ways to work around this. It all depends on your disability, what's in your body, and most importantly, what you can prove. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp at combatcraig.com. I knew looking at the claim that I was going to be denied immediately. I didn't want to show up to the C&P exam at all. Examiner even threw some low blows. I'll put in a good word for you and comments like that. So knowing that your claim was denied immediately, I'm wondering, what made you think that? As we're going through this process, we start educating ourselves. No matter how much we want to, we're kind of forced into it. We're in the mix, we're on YouTube, we're in different, comment places and stuff like that. If you knew that your claim was going to get denied immediately, that's why I don't like the VSO piece, because you're the one that gets to submit the claim and feel comfortable about it. The VSO had a power of attorney. He's like, oh, hey, Craig, I'm going to hit the submit button. I'm not really feeling too good about it. Click, and they submit it. So now, it's not your move anymore. You get to do all the research you want to do, and then you click the submit button, and then the ball's in the VA's court. They're going to C&P exam you, deny you, approve you, whatever, and that's going to take time. The government doesn't move fast. Then you're going to get a decision letter, and then it's your time to make a move again. So I don't really like this piece of introducing a VSO in here because, we're going to make last minute decisions. And if you're doing, 3-4 checks and something doesn't feel right about your claim, that would really suck if somebody else clicked the submit button for you and you're not ready for it. The C&P examiner threw low blows. This is real common. I talk about this in almost every C&P exam video I've done because I want you to understand how this tone and phrases come at you. I'll put in a good word for you. That is completely meaningless. It's a pleasantry. It's like saying hello to somebody and somebody says hello back. It doesn't really mean anything. You just do it because it's like polite to do and our parents taught us to do it. So I'll put in a good word for you. The C&P examiner doesn't have the ability to put in a word for you. He is hired by the VA to do a job, and that job is to fill out a DBQ and provide a medical opinion. A good word is not in that equation anywhere at all. Not a good word or a bad word. Just, I think this guy has a disability. I think the way this thing's laid out deserves to be service connected, and that's it. He doesn't go on beyond that. So C&P examiners are going to say things like this to throw you off. Remember, they are hired contractors by the VA, and they get paid in bulk. They want to run us through there as quickly as possible because they make more money doing that. They don't make money getting into situations where I might put a good word in or whatever. They just want to, you have the exam, it lasts 2 minutes or 2 hours or how long it's going to last, and then they'll say something like, thank you for your service. I'll put in a good word for you. So you walk out feeling like, oh, he's going to put in a good word for you. So you leave. He's not going to put in a good word for you. Don't get focused on that in your C&P exam. Make sure you talk about your disability and your symptoms and the facts, and that's it. And if you need medical evidence, that's what you need to win your VA disability claim. Hit up my med team. There's an email address in the description along with the link to my boot camp. Examiner was just a nurse. He refused to look at half of the medical evidence I brought in. So examiner was just a nurse. This happens. It's called a qualified medical professional. So it wasn't just a nurse, most likely. It was probably a nurse practitioner. Other qualified medical professionals are some social workers and mental health claims, PAs, physician's assistants, and then obviously MD doctors, medical doctors. So they are going to send you to somebody that the VA determines is a qualified medical professional. So what they are, whether they're a nurse practitioner, a PA, or an MD, that doesn't matter. Proving your claim matters. So he refused to look at half the medical evidence you brought in. So when you file your claim, that's when you prove your claim with the medical evidence. If you file a claim and then you don't feel good about it a month later, and then you get the C&P exam 3 months later, and you're like, oh, I better bring the nexus in now. They don't have to look at that. They don't have to look at it at all. They're not hired to look at paperwork that you bring in. That's why we do that up front. I hope this clears this part up for you. You bring the medical evidence up front, and that's when you file the claim, right? So it's in a packet. Adding on to the packet, making changes to the packet, that, it may or may not happen, but don't plan on that happening. Legally, the VA doesn't have to change anything. Hey, Craig, here's the way you submit your claim. I don't care what you bring in over here. We're going with the claim you submitted because that's the legal process. So bring in stuff to your C&P exam, but remember, your job is to go talk about your symptoms, and this thing may be over in 2 minutes. I wouldn't spend much time bringing medical evidence in. What's that look like anyway, right? If you don't know what a current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus looks like, and you bring in 50 pages, he's just not going to read it. Nobody's going to read that. So, keep that in mind. And I'm kind of going back and forth with this comment because I want to give some context and my thoughts. I've managed to go from not service connected to 70% by myself. Awesome. That's exactly what I preach and I teach all the time, including my boot camp. Check that out at combatcraig.com. It's all about getting hands-on to your claim, because I guess the easiest way to explain this is my claim, your claim, and we're trying to get benefits. So we're the only ones that are affected, right? If we lose, we don't get an increase. We don't get more money or more benefits or dependence pay or whatever it is, all the above. Nobody else gets affected by that. This is just one-on-one, right? So you get a VSO involved, it doesn't matter to him whether you get paid more, get paid 100%, or get denied. He's getting paid the exact same he's getting paid. A lot of these guys work for free, so they're not even getting paid. You want to go into a $3,000 a month claim with some guy that works for free? No, thanks. I'll pay for somebody that knows what they're doing if I'm going to that route. But even these people, and now I'm kind of talking about lawyers, this is the appeals process. It's better to do this yourself. You don't need to learn about 25 different disabilities. That's not going to get you farther faster. Focus on 5 or 6 high-value claims. Figure out how you're going to establish service connection for a couple of them up front, and then see where you end up. And if you need to file more claims, do that again, and it's not a rush. You have to figure out your own pace, your own strategy, but when you're in charge and you do it by yourself, it's liberating, and you don't have to, get into a situation like this where it's like, my VSO sabotaged my claim. Those words come out of my mouth because it happened to me in the past. Once I figured out that's what VSOs were doing to my claim, I put a stop to it, and I just stepped in, and I had to do it myself, right? I find that I do a lot of things myself if I want them done right, but if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you understand what I'm saying. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp at combatcraig.com. Everything I've ever claimed has gotten denied, so it's not unfamiliar to me, but this felt like 1 step forward, 5 steps back. So not service-connected is 70%. That's a huge leap. I wasn't at 70% until probably 7 years ago. So good job. That's a huge leap. So we don't want to minimize that part. That's a good job. So I don't know. Everything you claim got denied. I'm not sure. I know it feels like you're going forwards and backwards, and that may literally be happening. Every time you file a claim, you open up your claim for reevaluation. They can reduce your claim just as easy as they can give you an increase because they're in your claim. You invited them in. Hey, I want to file a claim. Come on in, take a look. Expect them to look at everything. Should they? No. You're filing a claim for PTSD. They should not be looking at your migraines rating. But guess what? They do, and they get caught doing it. Go Google unwarranted C&P exams. You'll see OIG reports, outlining this, where they catch VA employees doing this over and over again. So they do it. So, be prepared for the worst. The worst is you file for an increase, you're going to get a decrease. Just don't hide from that. That's just the way it is. So protect yourself the best you can on the things you already have ratings for. Go for that increase, Don't be afraid to do it. But, if you're at 100% permanent total, don't file more claims. You're at 100%. You're at the highest. Literally, the only place you can go from 100% P&T is down. Can I recover from this by myself? I don't know where to start. It's been an uphill battle with the VA for years already. I feel that for sure. So yes, you could recover from this. You could file a claim and you could fight with the VA until you die. So there's plenty of time. I know none of us wants to be doing this until we're in our 80s or 90s, but we can. So there's always time to repair claims. And when you're in charge of your claim, You're in the driver's seat. So this isn't a rush. This is getting the compensation you've earned and deserve, right? This isn't welfare, right? We earn these benefits. They don't make it easy for us to get them. That's a different video, different debate, and sucks, but that's the way it is. So we have to figure out how to, make this happen. This may take you 5 years. At least you got it done right. I wasted about 27 years. I wish I would have known this in 1991. There's 2 levels of the appeals process, but it all depends on your decision letter. Why was your claim denied? 5 things. What were those 5 things? Did you have anything under favorable findings in those 5 things? Did they concede you had a diagnosis? Or did they just deny everything because you have no diagnosis and no nexus? You have to figure out which thing they denied you for. Current diagnosis or a nexus or both. And that's for every disability you filed a claim for. This is why it's easier to keep this stuff bite-sized chunks. We're talking about diagnostic codes and medical terms we don't even know how to pronounce. So the less of that you have to do, you have 12 disabilities, that's a lot to manage, especially in a decision letter when everything gets denied. 2 or 3 things, that's a lot too, but it's more manageable. So depending on what you were missing, what you had or what you didn't have, you can file a higher level review. That's one of the first steps in the appeals process. This is before you get tied up at the BVA for 6 years. If you have the medical evidence, if you had a current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus, and you have it 100% because you could see it, maybe somebody else looked at it or something, whatever. However you checked it and 100% sure it's there, then do a higher level review. They just ignored it. They may not have even written it in the paperwork. But if it says right on there, yeah, you have a diagnosis, that means that you don't have a nexus. So if you're missing the nexus, then you need to get a nexus, and then that would be a supplemental claim. The difference between a higher level review and a supplemental claim is you get to introduce new and relevant evidence when you file a supplemental claim. And you could go on to the BVA, to the court. Some veterans go to the Supreme Court. I can guarantee you that takes 10, 20, 30 years, but some of us do that. So you have to pick which way you want to go, and then how strong is the argument you're making. There's a thing where it became cool in the 80s to sue everybody. So I was like a little kid then, whatever. Yeah, like 10, 11 in 1980. But I remember it coming up, and it was like, whoa, lawsuits. And I just kind of remember my mom can't slap me anymore because I was a little shit. And I'm sure it was like, oh, you're going to sue me? Whap, here's the belt. But that's old school. I'm old. That's the way it was. Love my mom. If you're old, my age or older, that's just the way it was, and everything's fine. But this lawsuit thing came in. So a lot of people are like, oh, I denied my claim. I'm going to go lawyer up. And then you go try to hire a lawyer, and they're like, yeah, we're not taking claims like that right now. You should know, if you're more involved in your claim, you'll know if your claim's worth fighting for or not. Your disability and your rating's worth fighting for, but the way you laid it out might not be. I know my first 3 claims were not fighting for. I didn't fight for them, but I wouldn't have anyway. Figure out what you have and figure out, what your chances of winning. It's a risk thing. It's like insurance, right? Like the average person lives till they're 83 or whatever, and you're 65, so we're going to pay you because you got a severe car accident. We're going to pay you for these last 20 years. You get paid more if you're 5 years old. It's that kind of thing. Do a risk assessment on your claim, figure out, what your chances are. And you may want to just take this claim that sucks, throw it in the garbage, and start over again, because that's one of the things we could do. We could literally start over again, refigure it, reestablish service connection. Oh, that was stupid. That disability doesn't even pay money. It's hearing loss. I already get healthcare and hearing aids. I don't need 0%. So you just don't even pursue that disability. I'm going to go after these ones. So I hope this just wanted to give you my 2 cents, kind of rambly fashion here, and I'll see you in the next video. And if you need medical evidence, that's what you need to win your VA disability claim. Hit up my med team. There's an email address in the description along with the link to my boot camp.